For millennia, civilizations have meticulously charted the rise and fall of empires, the ebb and flow of power, and the accumulation of vast fortunes. Gold, jewels, land, and dominion have served as the universally accepted lexicon of wealth. But what if the profoundest insights into true prosperity emerged not from the gilded halls of royalty, but from the humble, sun-baked fields of a seemingly penniless farmer, whose only treasure was the rhythm of his own contented existence? This radical notion, one that challenges the very bedrock of human ambition and societal valuation, forms the core of an enduring tale whispered through the annals of history and folklore alike. It is a narrative that transports us to an era where kings wielded absolute power, their destinies interwoven with the fate of millions, yet often found themselves prisoners within their own golden cages, yearning for an elusive peace their boundless riches could never procure. Imagine, then, the reign of King Valerius, monarch of the sprawling kingdom of Eldoria. His domain stretched from the shimmering sapphire peaks in the north to the verdant emerald coast in the south, encompassing fertile valleys, bustling trade routes, and cities whose spires pierce the heavens. His treasury, reputedly the largest in the known world, overflowed with chests of gleaming electrum, rare gemstones mined from his own mountains, and exotic silks imported from distant lands. His palaces, constructed from marble and adorned with intricate mosaics, were architectural marvels, each room a testament to unbridled luxury. Thousands of skilled artisans, musicians, chefs, and scholars attended to his every whim, their lives dedicated to perfecting the comfort and grandeur of their sovereign. His armies, vast and disciplined, were the envy and terror of neighboring kingdoms, securing Eldoria's borders and extending its influence. Indeed, by every conventional measure of his age and hours, King Valerius was the epitome of success, the living embodiment of ultimate wealth and power. Yet, beneath the resplendent robes and the heavy crown, an insidious disquiet gnawed at his soul. Valerius was, in truth, profoundly unhappy. He suffered from a gnawing emptiness, a spiritual famine that no feast could sat, no conquest could fill. His days were a ceaseless cycle of administration, diplomacy, and increasingly, a desperate search for meaning that always ended in futility. He would pace the silent, cavernous halls of his bedchamber in the dead of night, the weight of his crown feeling less like a symbol of authority and more like a crushing burden. Sleep often eluded him, his mind racing with the responsibilities of state, the endless machinations of court, and the pervasive, existential boredom that even the most extravagant entertainment could not dispel. He had acquired every material possession imaginable, experienced every conceivable pleasure, and achieved every ambition a mortal man could aspire to. But the satisfaction was fleeting, a phantom that danced just beyond his grasp, leaving him ever more weary, ever more unfulfilled. He envied the simple labourers he sometimes observed from his carriage, their sweat-streaked faces seemingly more genuine in their expressions of joy or sorrow than any emotion he had felt in years. He summoned his kingdom's most renowned philosophers, poets, and mystics, presenting them with his conundrum. "Tell me," he would implore, his voice heavy with an uncharacteristic vulnerability, "what is true wealth? What is this peace that eludes me, despite all I possess?" Their answers were always variations on a theme, stoic aphorisms about virtue, elaborate spiritual theories, or deferential platitudes about the divine right of kings. None offered a tangible path to the tranquility he craved. The more they spoke, the more isolated Valerius felt, a king on a lonely island of gold. His despair deepened casting a long shadow over the court and, subtly, over the kingdom itself. His decrees became more erratic, his temperament less stable. Courtiers walked on eggshells, fearing his unpredictable moods. The pursuit of his personal happiness, or rather, his desperate attempt to alleviate his unhappiness, began to consume an inordinate amount of state resources. Expeditions were launched to find mythical artifacts. Alchemists were funded to transmute base metals into gold and, perhaps, happiness, and grand festivals were orchestrated to lift his spirits, all to no avail. His advisors, astute and calculating, understood the gravity of the situation. A king consumed by inner turmoil was a kingdom vulnerable, both internally and externally. Yet, their conventional wisdom, rooted in power and material gain, offered no solution to a problem that transcended both. They could add to his treasury, but they could not fill the void in his soul. It was amidst this suffocating atmosphere of opulence and ennui that a peculiar rumor began to circulate. Initially dismissed as idle gossip from the common folk, it spoke of a farmer named Cale, who resided in a small, remote valley at the furthest edge of Valerius's kingdom, a man whose fields yielded barely enough to sustain his modest family. By Aldorian standards, Cale was poor, almost destitute. He owned no land beyond his small plot, possessed no jewels, commanded no servants, and his dwelling was a simple, mud-brick structure, thatched with straw. His daily existence was a relentless struggle against the elements, reliant on the capricious bounty of nature, and the sheer strength of his own calloused hands. Yet, the whispers insisted, this Cale possessed a remarkable and unmistakable quality, an abiding, almost luminous, contentment. Travelers passing through his valley spoke of his cheerful demeanor, his genuine laughter that echoed across the fields, his open-hearted generosity despite his meager means, and the profound sense of peace that radiated from him and the warmth of the morning sun. The king, ever vigilant for anything that might offer a glimmer of hope to his suffering, eventually overheard these anecdotes from one of his more unconventional scouts, a man less interested in military maneuvers and more in the pulse of the common people. At first, Valerius scoffed, his regal eyebrows arching in disbelief. A poor farmer, content, he mused aloud, a wry, bitter smile playing on his lips. How can one who lacks everything possess that which I, with all my wealth, cannot obtain? Surely, this is but a fable, woven by simple minds to console themselves for their poverty. His initial reaction was rooted deeply in the conventional understanding of wealth that had defined his entire life, and the very foundation of his kingdom. Material accumulation equals power, power equals security, and security, presumably, equals happiness. To suggest that a man who had none of these could be genuinely content was not only counterintuitive, it was an affront to his understanding of the world, a direct challenge to the very definition of success he had embodied. It implied that his lifelong pursuit of grandeur had been, at best, misguided, and at worst, a monumental waste of his precious life. Yet, despite his skepticism, the scout's earnest accounts persisted, painting a vivid picture of Cale's unpretentious joy, his harmonious existence with nature, and his deep connection to his family and community. The sheer incongruity of it pricked at Valerius's jaded curiosity. He had exhausted all conventional avenues. His philosophers had failed him. His riches offered no solace. Perhaps, he mused, the answer lay not in the grand pronouncements of sages or the glittering contents of his vaults, but in a place he had never deigned to look, among the forgotten, the unseen, the truly poor. The thought was both humiliating and exhilarating. It was a faint, almost imperceptible spark in the overwhelming darkness of his spirit, a fragile hope that dared to suggest that the true meaning of wealth might lie in a realm entirely beyond his current comprehension, a realm where material possessions were but fleeting shadows, and genuine contentment a treasure far more precious than any crown. It was a challenge to his very identity, a silent dare to redefine what it meant to be truly rich. And so the king, driven by a desolation that even immense power could not overcome, began to contemplate a journey that would lead him not to another conquest or a new palace, but to a humble farmer's field, seeking a wisdom more valuable than all the gold in Eldoria.